Okay, let's talk about something you've probably seen all over the internet: free government phones, right? It's one of those things that seems too good to be true, and it's surrounded by a ton of hype and confusion. But here's the thing: there's actually some truth to it. So today, we're going to cut through all that noise and separate the real deal from the fiction. I mean, just look at this. People are actually searching for a free government iPhone 17. And the hilarious part? The iPhone 17 doesn't even exist. It's not a thing. This one search term perfectly captures the kind of wild promises and, honestly, misinformation that's floating around out there. So that brings us to the big question, right? Is any of this for real? Can you actually get a free phone from the government? And, what's the catch? Well, let's dig in and find out. All right, first things first, we have to tackle the biggest myth right out of the gate. This is the idea that you're going to get the newest, shiniest, top-of-the-line smartphone shipped right to your door, no questions asked, for free. So yeah, here's the myth versus the reality, plain and simple. The dream they're selling you is a brand new iPhone 17. The reality? If you qualify for the program, what you're actually likely to get is a perfectly good but much older refurbished phone. Think something like an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 8 or maybe just a basic Android phone. Look, it's still a free phone, which is amazing, but it's not the phone from those crazy ads. So, the real program behind all of this is called the Lifeline program. And yes, it's a completely legitimate US government program. The whole point is to help make sure that people with low incomes can get affordable phone and internet service. Because let's be real, in today's world, having a phone isn't a luxury. It's essential for everything from jobs and school to safety and healthcare. Okay, so we've established Lifeline is real. The next logical question is, what do you actually get? And maybe even more important, who can actually get it? Let's break down what the program really offers and who's eligible. So here's how it usually works. Your eligibility is often tied to other federal aid programs you might be a part of. For example, if you're already on programs like SNAP, Medicaid, or SSI, there's a really good chance you qualify for Lifeline too. That's kind of the first hurdle, the first box you've got to check. All right, so let's say you've checked the box and you're eligible. Now what? Who do you actually talk to? Well, here's a key point. You don't apply directly with the government. Instead, you go through specific approved wireless companies. So let's take a look at who the big, trustworthy players are in this space. And this is where you run into your first big choice. On one hand, you've got a company like AirTalk Wireless. They're super popular for one big reason. They're one of the few providers that actually offer iPhones. Again, we're talking about older, refurbished models, like an iPhone 7 or 8. Then, on the other hand, you have a massive company like SafeLink Wireless, which is backed by TracFone. With them, you're probably going to get a pretty standard Android phone, but you get incredibly reliable coverage, so there's a trade-off. And that's really the takeaway here. It boils down to a choice you have to make. What's more important to you? Is it getting that iPhone, even if it's an older model, from a company like AirTalk? Or is it having the absolute best, most reliable cell service from a giant like SafeLink? That's the decision you'll likely have to weigh. Okay, now we need to talk about what is, without a doubt, the most important part of this whole thing. Because when you apply for these programs, you're handing over sensitive personal information, and that means knowing how to avoid scams isn't just a good idea, it is absolutely critical. Seriously, I need you to listen up for this next part. If you apply the wrong way, the worst thing that can happen isn't just that your application gets denied. The real danger is you could be handing your personal data directly to scammers. So whatever you do, please do not just go to Google, type in free phone, and click the first thing that pops up. That is a one-way ticket to a scammy website. You have to avoid these random unofficial sites that ask for your social security number or other personal info. Ignore the pop-up ads. You need to stick to the official applications from the actual carriers, and only those. And just to make things a little more complicated, this program is not the same everywhere. The rules totally change depending on where you live. If you're in California, for example, you're going to get different data limits than someone in Texas. The carriers available are different too. A super common mistake is applying with a company that doesn't even operate in your state or zip code, and boom, instant rejection. Okay, enough with the scary warnings, right? Let's talk about the solution. I'm going to give you a simple 3-step game plan to apply the right way, the safe way, so you can avoid all that hype and all those scams. So your absolute best friend in this whole process is going to be what we'll call a trusted resource. What I mean by that is a website that stays up to date, that lets you filter the carriers by your state, and, this is the most important part, gives you the direct official application links. It cuts out all the sketchy middlemen. So here it is, your safe application plan. Step 1, just ignore the hype. Let it go. You're not getting an unreleased phone. Step 2, use one of those trusted filtering websites to see which legitimate companies actually serve your area. And step 3, the final step, only use the official application links you find on that trusted site. That's it. So, if there's one thing you take away from all this, it's this. The free phone program is real, it's legitimate, and it's a super important service. But the online world that's built up around it is like a minefield. You just have to be careful and know what you're doing. And all of this really leaves us with a bigger question to think about, doesn't it? I mean, getting a basic smartphone to make calls and send texts is one thing, but with technology changing so incredibly fast, how do programs like Lifeline keep up? How do they make sure they're not just giving people a phone line, but actually bridging the digital divide and giving them the tools to really participate in the world we live in today?